Hi there, thank you so much for clicking the thumbnail and being interested in my work. In this video I share with you one of my step-by-step in-depth Patreon videos where I'll go into depth on how to change mistakes without creating mud. Hope you enjoy this free sample of my Patreon videos. Here's the link to the Patreon library page on my website. All you need to do is click on these two boxes here, one for pastels, one for oil paintings. So say if you're wanting pastels, just click on the click here and that will send you to this page so you can see what's on offer. So just click on any image and it'll send you straight to Patreon. So let's dive in and take a look at this free example. Hi there. Welcome to another step by step. So what's happened is I've actually done the eyes too big. It's actually a picture of my great niece Faith. It's Olivia's sister. Now with there being prescription glasses, lenses, I've sort of connected to the fact that the eyes are bigger and I've made them too big, so I've emphasised it too much. So it'd be quite an interesting one for you to see, because we all make mistakes, so you got to know how to correct them. And the thing is as well, not to beat yourself up as well, because there's a tendency to lose heart when you make a mistake and you think, well, I've done it now, I've finished, I can't change it and it don't look right. You can always change things, even in pastels. So you know, you haven't got to worry, you just got to keep at it, just push yourself that little bit further. But anyway, let's crack on with this then. So I'm just going to set it up into the correct size. Now you'll have a little inset photograph I'm going to put there on when I edit the video. So let me just make sure that's in focus. That's it. A bit more, that's it there. So what we'll do now is show you how I change things. Now when you look at the actual photograph, which will be here for you to view, you see that the eye is too big. Here is the correct size, just slightly, just a little bit that way. This one needs to come that way a bit there, but when you look at the part here, if you put a straight edge on it and see where it lines up on this eye, it should line up just where the centre of that pupil is, so it's way out. And also I've dropped the eyelashes here, they should be lifted up more. The too far down here, which is creating it to make it look too big, that eye. So the first things first, then I'm going to correct that there. Now it's almost like a grey anyway, that is. So what I'm going to do is put a little bit of, because it's like a red, I'm going to put a little bit of green in there, and that'll create like a greyer colour. And then I'm going to move it then, and it'll be like when you've done the outline, you see, in grey. That don't cause muddiness, so I'm lifting it up like that, look. Now I'm going to check it, see how that looks. In line with that. It still needs to come up quite a lot. It has actually got to come up higher here as well, so when you look at the actual reference image, it comes closer to that rim there, and that comes, so the eye's got to come up a little bit more. So I'm going to draw these in here a little bit higher, so I've got to bring that eye up, so I'll show you how I do that. So it's quite an interesting one to see. I'm just going to put the white in like that. You see, see how that's too red now. It's too. It might be alright, but I can just create a grey by just putting a bit of green in there, just to. It might have been alright anyway. But I'm just going to try and create neutral colours first. So I'm going to bring this up here. That needs to come up a little bit more there. That needs to come just a little bit that way, a little bit more. Get me brown and blue in there. Then get me white to shape that eye in there, because it's like a black anyway, that is, so it makes a grey. So that's, you keep standing back now, just have a look at it. Now that's got to come that way a little bit like that. That's it. You haven't got to, you know, get all stressed out if you've made a mistake, because you can easily change it. So I'm going to bring that up a bit more here. It's put a bit of blue in. So you just got to see what colour it makes when you put white to it sometimes, and then you just change it up by whatever colour, you know, when you know how to mix the colours, you can actually change it easier. So I'm just going to see how that lines now with that pupil. See if that's better. Yeah, that's better now. So that's more or less right there. You see, now, you see these brown eyelashes, they can cause problems. So what you do, you put a bit of blue with that to make it a dark grey. And then you put your white to it, and that should like disappear and melt into everything else. Now if it looks too blue, opposite of blue is orange, so you put a bit of blue in there. Orange I mean, so I put a bit of orange in there just to create it back into a more of a grey colour. That's better. And then, because it's grey, it should melt in that. See how that's melted in? And then I can go over red again now, you see, and you won't know there were eyelashes there. So that's how you change it. Whatever colour you've got, make it into a grey. See, that's too far up here now, so that's creating a grey anyway, because it was like a brown and blue I used, which creates grey. So that's getting the shape better now, so I'm just going to have a look in the mirror. That's a lot better now, that is. I can see that's a lot better. So now I'm going to use dark green. So this is actually, by me making that mistake, it's actually created quite an interesting video for you to see, because we've all got to know how to change mistakes, because we all make them. Right, so that's got to come a bit higher up there. So all I'm doing now is measure the corner of that, see where it lines up, so it comes to the top of that. So that's about right. So look at the bottom of that there, that bottom shadow there. You can just see a bit of that eye. So if you measure across there like that, you can just see a bit of that eye. So that's right. It looked right when I looked in the mirror, but I just wanted to double check. Now, you see, then I've got to start now to create the actual eyelashes here. So I'm using the red first, and then I'm going to use a dark green, which will create a natural shadow, and that's in the skin tone anyway, so I can always change that back. Then I'm going to put blue there, sorry, red there, and a bit of green. Create that eyelash where it's going to go. It's just a rough idea really first. That's it, so that shadows comes around there. That's what I'm looking now, is just to see how these look. So I'm really trying to get this to what the original looks like more. It just looks better when you see it on the screen. The thing is as well, because this is in perspective, I've had to do the original photograph in perspective, so you can see that it's drawing correctly, because if that was straight, this would look too small here, but actually this is slightly bigger than that when you look at it straight on. So that's looking better. So I'm going to bring this eye, working on this now, just to change this up, because these are greys anyway. It's like a shadow, which is like a grey. That's creating the correct colours. There's no worries there on that one. That needs to come up now a little bit more. So I'm bringing that up there higher. I need to change the eyeball in a minute, the actual iris. and that'll come into there like that. I think that's looking a bit better. Let's just make sure I've not done that too wide now. Just having a little look. It comes against the nose. It seems okay. Now I'm going to darken that, because you see the value of that is too light, which is throwing the eye off. So a bit of cold red in there, and then some dark green with it, just to create the correct tone, and then slightly line it up a little bit and get some yellow ochre in there. So I'm using, these are sort of colours I'm using to change things up. It's just a basic colour, you know, what we've done before. I'm just selecting, I'll select different colours as I need them. That's the typical colours we use. See, that's wrong. You see this line here now. So I'm just going to go over that now with green, and then with red, and try and do it as before I put that detail on. That's better. You see how you can change that. See, this is too wrongly drawn as well, so I'm just going to try and get this in here. I might even put this on actual YouTube in brief, and then just put the full version step by step on here, because I think it'll help others to see who can't afford to support me. I always try and make my work available for everyone, so if I can help them out with what little knowledge I do have, I will. It's that. Now you see that line there's got to change now. You see everything's changing, so that's got to change. It's got to come sort of up there like that. That's it. Now that's still got to come up a little bit more. Still sensing it's not quite right. I think it's because this has got to bring more shadow into here like that, which will bring it right. Bit of green, dark green, and a bit of red, and a bit of yellow ochre to warm it up. So when you want to warm something up, put yellow ochre in. If you want to make it cold, put blue in there, or sometimes a dark green works if you're using it with red. It's just a case of experimenting. Now I'm going to put a little bit of blue in there now, just to create that sort of coolness I'm looking for in there. Just see what that's like now. That looks a bit better. Yeah, there's still something not quite right. Very difficult study this is. It's very sort of challenging. I think it's because this eye is not drawn right now, so I've got to correct this eye now. So let's just do that. So let's throw in it in a minute. That's it. Put that in there. Now then, this has got to come up in here now, up higher, to make it look right. I think that pupil's okay. Slightly change it like that, just using the white around it. Get me black now. Maybe move that pupil, the highlight of the pupil, up a bit as well now. That's what's throwing it at the moment. I'm just trying to see the shapes, what's in the photograph, and trying to mirror that, and that'll give me an idea of where the placement. That looks better. And then I'll just, because there's all sorts of things what's going off in this lens here. There's reflected light, there's something reflected onto the lens itself that's creating interesting marks. Needs to come higher up now into there, like so. Bit of a dark ultramarine just to darken that white underneath it. That's it. And then put a bit of darkness in there, so I'll put brown and dark blue. That's it. It's got to go in there with the black now. Sometimes a suggestion of colour here and there. You don't have to be like an exact replica, because you don't want, I mean, I don't try and draw it like a photograph, because you might as well just have one blown up. That's what I always think. So it's my interpretation of it, but the drawing of it wasn't right, so that's why I've made this video for you to look at. Now you can change it. See, that looks better, because they're still bigger than what you would see normally if it weren't for them glasses bit with them glasses on. It's just, that needs to be whiter there. So I'm using white to change that there like that. And you've got lines that's coming down here like that on the lens itself. That's it. Now here I'm going to do with that, because it's quite rich, I'm going to use a bit of Rembrandt stick. So you find your corner, get that in, make it fresher then. Then I can move that around now using my Caran d'Ache pencil. So I'm moving that pigment, mixing it in with what's underneath. That's it. And then I'm going to create that. Let me just see if that's still alright. Yeah. Yeah. And that's underneath there. Yeah. Got a spirit of mirror level here. I've got to, yeah, that's it. See, that's made sure that was straight. That's handy to have if you got one of these radial easels, is to have a little spirit level like that, just to make sure that everything is level. So obviously the bubble's got to be in the centre of the marks, and I know the screen's level. Sometimes you knock it now and again and you forget to check it, so luckily it was right there. Right, so now then I'm just going to put a bit of brown in there now. Just got to make that darker there. That's got to come up there like that. Make sure you don't go down again to where it was before. Now this has got to be, it's got to be higher there. Just a bit of olive green in there to create that green of the eye. Got to come higher up there as well. Bit of green in there. Tiny little bit of black. Just create the right intensity there. Tiny little bit, only scraping that white in because I don't want to make it too white. So that is alter the value, so I'm just going to put a bit of blue in there and a bit of orange. Now this is not quite right here. It's very difficult to study. This is. It's a challenge for you if you do tackle it. Right, this is not right here. You see, so I'm going to use my white on that. I put a bit more blue in there just to change it up. A bit of orange to create a grey. And then I'll use the green now to come up a little bit higher with that, about there. And then the red. So you can see how you can change things around. Just a case of keep persevering with it and don't get disheartened with it really. Even now it's still not correct. There's something not right about it. It's quite a difficult one to do. I think it's because the eyes are so big. I'm tending to overemphasize them because I'm connecting to them. I've just got to put more definition in them now on that edge there, and then it'll start to shape up, I think. My lemon yellow in there now. Excuse me. It's really hot in England at the moment. Getting a little bit of a hay fever coming. Just lift that bit of mark there. That needs to be lifted up a little bit there. Just putting the white in, then I'll glaze over with other colours. Got to define underneath there now a little bit, so I'm putting a bit of brown like that. See, now it's just that these are too white. It needs to be glazed over just to knock them back a little bit. So, a bit of green in it. That needs to be lifted up here a tad. Don't go too heavy with the white. If you dig in too much, it'll be difficult to get the subtleties. It'll create too much of a chroma with it. So just be subtle with it. A bit of brown in there as well, with a bit of blue. So you could go back to what we normally do is the warm blue and then orange. But there's a little bit of a purpley feel to that as well in the white of the eyes. So I might just go over with a bit of cold red in there just to create the correct purpley blue colour. Right, so that's that side. So I want to change this now because this is not right. So to change that, there's black in there anyway. It's like a brown and black. So I'm just going to get my white in there and see what needs to be done to it. So I'll just put a little bit of white in, and then maybe go over then with a little tiny little bit of blue, just to create more of a grey, bluey grey. And then again just slightly going over with it a little bit, and that's it. And then we get me pink. So what I'm trying to do is create that into a flesh colour, get it back to a flesh colour. That's it, so you just got to keep going over it and then small circles and see if it disappears and melts into it. That's it, and then get your finger in it. That's it, and then it needs to come up now. You see, get me white pencil. That's where that'll come there, but then this is where I went wrong. That needs to come up higher there, so I'm putting dark green in first, like so. Put a bit of red in there, create a dark skin tone there, and then a little bit of white just to soften it up and give it a similar tone to what you're looking for. Now I've got to get this shape right here, but that looks better already. Have a look. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Yeah. Just got to get this here. So that needs to be, it's okay there. This needs to be a bit higher there. Just trying to open up to it. Blue, and it's like an orangey colour, so I'm putting blue in there just to knock that back because it's made it all a bit sort of glowy, and same here, just knock it back a little bit, make it more neutral colour. That's it, and then I can change that again when I need to. But while I'm drawing it and redrawing it, I'm just making it into a neutral colour. This has got to be changed now, this actual area here. Now let's just see where that starts. So I'm putting that across there. Now that's not, that needs to come up higher here as well. There. That's what's throwing it off as well. That needs to come up higher there. It needs to be in there like that. Just checking that against that. Maybe gone a bit too far with that. Maybe. That's it. I think the curvature of that's got to change as well, so I'm just going to put white around that bit, just to change that as well a little bit. These sort of things make a difference. Surprising. Going over with red now, and then I'll go a bit of olive green just to neutralise it a little bit, like so, and go a bit higher with the highlight. That's it. Now, what I'm going to use now is a edge of the Rembrandt. So I'm going to try and get that highlight. So find a dot, get a dot on it, and try and find where it is. Then you can move that around then. So it needs to be, put a bit of light ultramarine in there. And then I'll go move me bring that up a little bit there. Let's just see what that's like now. Still needs to come over a little bit more. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to go over that. Because when you put your red in there, if it's gone over there, you can always make that into a neutral colour, the red, if you wanted to, or you could always put a bit of blue with that, make it purple. Then you've got the white of the eye. So you can always change things up, mix things up as you go along. You see, so you haven't got to worry if it's not in the right place. See, that's got to be higher now, so it's throwing it all off. These eyelashes here have got to be up here like that, and down. And then that'll come. Sometimes you just got to go for it, you know, and just see how it looks. And if it's not right, just move it again, you know, just keep moving things around. It's good practice anyway. We all make mistakes somewhere along the way, but they never, you know, it's like you always learn something from it. You've got to keep persevering, that's the key. It's what my art teacher once told me when I was at secondary school, when I was about 12, 13. Always sticks in my mind. Persevere, persevere, it'll come. And I still use that today, and words he used to say to me. And it's true, the more you persevere, it does eventually come together. I'm just checking the alignment of these things. Now this has got to be richer now, so I'm going to put more pigment in. See, it's too red. You can knock that back by putting a bit of olive green in there. And what that'll do, it'll subtle that red. And you just put enough onto it to look right. That's it. And then you can put a little bit of lemon yellow in the edge of that, just to create that little bit of a glow, what you see. And there's a bit of a glow on that point there. So I'm putting lemon yellow in there, and then putting that blue on, the red on the top. which will help. That's it. So let me know in the comments below if you think this has been a good video for you, because I think it's handy to know. I'm doing this turning because it's pastel metal, it's sanded board. If you press on hard enough, it grabs the white and it creates more of a highlight. Now I need the highlight in there now, which is going to break up that shadow. I'm just going to put some little bits and bobs in there now, like that. It's got to be bold with it, just to have a go. I'm just going to put a few more marks in there now. Let's just check, make sure that looks better. Yep, that's better. Right, so let's just do this, then I can start putting the eyelashes and everything in there then better, because that looks not quite right yet, that didn't. So dark green to start with. Reason being, I can always make that into a flesh colour if I need to. And I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to put a little bit of a black in places on them and then knock it back then with a tiny little bit of white. That's it. And then this has got to be swaddled up a little bit. It's got to come down a little bit more there. Could dab with your fingers sometimes helps. See how that is now, align with that. Yep. So you're actually seeing this blown up close up, you see, with but when you look at away from it, because it's only a 4" be 9", but when you look away from it, it looks more smoother and more sort of alive. But when you're seeing it as you're doing on screen, it looks a bit speckled and a bit. Again, it gives you an idea of how I'm applying it. I'm just trying to get over that now. That's not right. So I've got green there. So you see how, because I used green there, I can make that into darker flesh tone again, and then go over again with a bit of brown if I need to. Let's just get that right. Getting that subtlety. Just so this dark lighter there, twisting the white into that, and then maybe glaze with the other blue, maybe mix a bit of that in as well. It's quite an interesting effect on these eyes because there's all sorts of things reflecting on it. It's not just one dot. I'm trying to simplify it a little bit as well, not go too, if I can try and simplify it a little. See, these alterations do take quite a lot of time sometimes, but you haven't got to be too worried about it, too concerned about how long things take, because it keeps you relaxed then, because if you start to worry about how long things take, it can cause you to get really tense, and then you cut corners then. Sometimes when you use brown and blue it's not dark enough, so you have to use a bit of black with it, and like I mentioned before, just add something to it, black, just to I'm putting dark green here because it's a greeny eye on that side. That's it. Now I'm going to lift that eye up a little bit now. The pupil's got to be lifted up a little bit here. Just going to change that. Put a bit of. Sometimes when you look at the eye, you always seem to see that there's like a little bit of burnt sienna just around the pupil. Just gives it that little bit of life to the actual edge of the pupil there. Little tip I've learnt over the years. And that, again, that white highlight has got to go up there like that. That's got to go higher there. So might make the eye look a bit better. That's it. Let's see what that looks like. That's improved on it. Yeah. And mix a bit of blue with that. Like I say, just mix something with that black. So, and you can see that that's a very similar colour to this bit here, so I'm going to make that darker, and again put a bit of blue on that so it creates the right feel. Same here, that's a lot darker there. Use black and a bit of blue with it, so it's a blue black, and that will help to give it life, because if you don't get your values right it looks flat. sometimes you wonder what you think, well, it's drawn alright, why isn't it looking right? And it's just the actual values that makes all the difference. Right, so I'm just using the Carbothello black now because it's not so dense. Trying to get the actual iris correct around it, the width of the iris, checking that pupil's in the right place. So I'm going to look through the mirror, see if that's improved on it. Yeah, see, that's improved on it, putting that dark on the sides of it. See if the other side needs it. Yes, it does a little bit. Not quite, mind you, it looks okay, it just needs a bit of blue in that black, I think. Like that. Right, so I'm just got to try and get this in now. I think I'm going to go straight in with brown with this rather than green. That's it, and then that'll come in there like that. And that's got to be changed now, you see up here. See, that's got to come right up there like that. It's got to be changed. Also that has got to be slightly high up here. Just get that darkness right underneath the eyelid there, and then draw that eyelid in a bit there like that, and then we'll put a bit of red and burnt yellow ochre in that. Just a sec. Let's put the yellow ochre in first, and then a bit of red. That's it. Get that shape right, it's not a bit flat, a bit too flat there. Put a bit of brown in and just shape it up a little bit there, like that, and then in there. Work on that a bit now, because that's not quite. Not right, it's not dark enough in there. So I need to sort of get that darker. So we'll put brown in, and I see to put dark green in there, and the cold red, if I can find it. Where's it gone? There we go. Just see how dark that goes first, and see if it's dark enough, because if it isn't dark enough I'm going to have to put a bit of black. It's best to use them if you can, because it'll create more of a natural look to it, throw it back more. Sometimes when you use brown it looks a bit flat. That's it. I'm going to have to go a little bit black and darker in there. I think I'm going to have to use a little bit of black in there. It's quite dark. You've got to get that value right, or it throws it all off. Get in there. Cold red in here, and then just a little bit of cold green just to desaturate it a little bit. Same here, a little bit of dark green in there, and then the red. If you need to warm it up, I'll add a little bit of warm red or lemon yellow, yellow oak or lemon yellow if it needs it to be glowier. Trying to get that feel right. Yeah, there's quite a lot of work in this one. Sometimes you get that, it's because a lot going off, you see, you know, there's a lot of to consider. Very light, you can see it's very light in this. I'm putting a few suggestions of that. There's that light over the top of it, you see, that's throwing it, making it look lighter. Those freckles a little bit more, just subtle up the actual details there a little bit. Blue in here. Small circles. If you can't afford those other colours you see with Caran d'Ache, you can just use this white and then just glaze over with the colours you've got, because this is what's going to give the chrome. You see that Caran d'Ache white, so that'll save you some money if you haven't got a set of them. To make that a little bit redder here, just change these highlights a little bit. Let a lemon yellow in there just to create a little bit of a glow. That's better. Put a little bit of lemon yellow in there to create that chrome I'm looking for. that. Same here, just a tiny little bit. You don't have to put a lot on, it's just a scraping, but it does make a difference. Just gives it that sort of zinginess in areas that you want. Maybe a little bit of lemon yellow in there as well. Just going to get rid of that. There, it's just, that's it. Now you see this is too light here, so I need to darken that up a bit. Coloured red in there. Soften them areas up a little bit now. Not so flat there. That's better. Surprising, just a little millimetre movement here and a little millimetre there makes a difference. Now I'm going to use the lemon yellow again, just in places where it needs it, just to freshen it up. Be careful with that eye because I quite like how that's just developed. I don't want to change that really if I can help it. It's okay. You can do too much and it goes backwards a little bit, so to be aware of that. You can over render things basically. Right, so I'm going to put a bit of cold red in there now. Maybe put a bit in there as well. Too white there. Skin's never too white. Never really white. Hope you enjoyed that little taste of a little bit of what happens in Patreon. If you want to see the full length of this one, please check it out. Link is in the description below. I have a real-time beginner's guide in YouTube if you want to check that out. Here's the link here for you if you do. Take care. Bye for now.